All right, so this is where you guys left off with your notes here. This part right here, these topics of interest, these are nice little case, kind of like case studies to go ahead and get you thinking about the different things that can affect the skin. So I'd like you to take some time on your own at home using the internet or maybe after school or during lunch or the Wildcat Way to go ahead and work on answering some of these questions. A couple of them we talked about already in class, but some of the other ones you'll want to go ahead and take some time on your own to look through. Okay, so if we go ahead and turn our page over, you guys should find that there's a lab here. So this is over the receptors and somatic senses. And so all of these materials right here, really, really hard to read. I already have them all set up on our table. So I'll go through that here in just a second. But before we do that, what I want you guys to work on first, before you actually start the lab and get into partners and all that good stuff, is procedure A. Okay, so we're going to turn our pages a couple over. We're going to get through the directions of the lab first. And you're going to be on page, let's see, what page is this? 240. So on page 240, what you guys should see is a picture like this. So this is the lab report. So this is where you're going to record all your observations, and you're going to answer some questions on the lab itself, okay? So everyone should be right here, and again, that's on page 240, and it says laboratory reports. Notice that part A is the somatic receptors, and this is just a questioning part, okay? So before you even start the lab, what I want you guys to work on right now is part A. So to be able to do that, because I know most of us are like, oh, we can look in the textbook. For the receptors, these ones in our textbook currently, I could not find these in this chapter. So what I did for you guys instead was I printed off this little half sheet of paper, and this is just an introduction, an overview of the receptors, the somatic receptors that we find within our skin, okay? So everyone should get one of these half sheets, and you guys can go ahead and mark this if you need to, but I'm going to have you turn it back in to me so you can put it in our basket up front once you go ahead and read through it and use it to answer the questions. Now, the biggest piece that you want to be looking at right here are the types of receptors. So these are all the different types of receptors that we find within the skin. Now, these will help you with answering at least the first half of the questions in part A. Once you go ahead and answer these and you're like, oh, I don't have any more, I can't find the last 4 answers, then what you'll need to do is you'll want to go ahead and flip back to the front of our notebook. So we'll go ahead and move this here. All the way at the front, if you remember, our coloring page on the back side, there was this coloring page called the integument sensory receptors of the skin. Okay? So right here, what you'll find is there's some information talking about the different receptors. So it doesn't go quite as in-depth as our half page here, but it does have a couple of things that our other one doesn't. For example, it talks about the Meissner's corpuscles for touch, and the Pacinian corpuscles for pressure, and the Krauss corpuscles for cold, and the Ruffini corpuscles for heat. So these right here will help you with answering the questions in part A as well. So a quick review. You're going to use this half page right here to go ahead and help you figure out what receptors go ahead and take in information on different things, and also the information here on this coloring page for pain, touch, pressure, cold, and heat. And that will be for part A. So that's the part that you're going to be going ahead and working on page 240 before you go ahead and start the rest of the lab. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a minute to work on that. And then once everyone is pretty much done with that, has had a chance to go ahead and look through the half page and the questions, we'll go ahead and we can play the next video for the next section of the lab.